There's something deeply magnetic about a woman with an old soul. You can sense it the moment she walks into a room, not because she demands attention, but because she carries a quiet energy that speaks louder than words. Carl Jung believed that every person has layers of consciousness that connect them to something timeless, something ancient. A woman with an old soul lives from that deeper layer. Her energy doesn't rush, her eyes hold stories, and her silence carries meaning. She moves through the world differently, grounded, thoughtful, and profoundly self-aware. She's the kind of woman who values solitude over attention. While others fear being alone, she thrives in it. Solitude is her sacred space, not a punishment, not an escape, but a sanctuary where she reconnects with her essence. She doesn't need constant noise or validation to feel alive. In fact, she finds herself most alive when the world goes quiet. Jung once said, "Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens." And that's her. She's awake because she's unafraid to look within. People sometimes mistake her peace for loneliness, but she's not lonely. She's selective. She knows that not every crowd nourishes the soul. A woman with an old soul feels everything deeply, but expresses little. Her emotions run like rivers beneath the surface, calm on the outside, powerful within. She knows the difference between reacting and responding, between feeling and expressing. When she loves fully, not for status, not for security, but from a place of soul recognition. And when she hurts, she retreats into her quiet world to process, to heal, to understand. She doesn't lash out or seek revenge. She reflects. Pain becomes her teacher, not her enemy. Every heartbreak, every loss adds another layer of depth to her being. She carries scars not as proof of suffering, but as symbols of strength. People might call her distant, but it's not distance, it's discernment. She knows that not everyone deserves access to her inner world, meaning, not materialism, guides her choices. While others chase the next trend, she seeks truth. She doesn't care how much something costs. She cares how much it speaks to her spirit. Her joy isn't found in possessions, but in presence. A walk at dusk, a heartfelt conversation, a song that stirs her memory. These things move her more than any luxury could. Jung once wrote that true happiness comes when the conscious and unconscious selves align. That's what she embodies, alignment. Her worth doesn't depend on applause or validation. It flows from within. The world might see her as detached, even strange. But she knows something most people forget. Fulfillment doesn't come from having more. It comes from needing less. She has an extraordinary gift. She sees through masks. Deception rarely fools her because she reads what's beneath the words. She senses energy shifts, subtle tones, hidden motives. Her intuition is almost eerie, a deep, wordless knowing that guides her decisions. People often wonder how she just knows when something feels wrong. The truth is, she doesn't analyze it. She feels it. Jung believed that the unconscious reveals itself in everything we do, our gestures, expressions, even our silences. She's attuned to those signals. She reads energy like others read books. That's why she avoids drama and manipulation. She senses it long before it unfolds. Her intuition is her compass, and it rarely leads her astray. And then there's her relationship with darkness, the very thing most people run from. She doesn't fear it. She embraces it. She knows that without darkness there can be no growth. She's faced her shadows, her insecurities, her pain, not to destroy them but to understand them. Jung taught that enlightenment doesn't come by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. That's her essence. She's walked through fire and emerged softer, not harder. Her calmness isn't naive. It's earned. She's seen both beauty and chaos, and she chooses peace not because it's easy, but because she's learned it's the only thing that lasts. Old soul women are healers by nature. Even without trying, they bring comfort to others. Their presence feels like home, their words feel like medicine. But she knows the danger of giving too much. She's learned that not every wounded soul wants to heal, and not every broken person deserves her energy. That's why she sets quiet boundaries, not out of pride, but protection. She understands that her peace is sacred, and not everyone is meant to share it. She's often misunderstood because her rhythm is different. While others move fast, she moves intentionally. She doesn't rush into relationships, decisions, or dreams. She trusts divine timing. Her intuition whispers louder than the world's noise, and she listens. That's why she often ends up exactly where she's meant to be, even when it makes no sense to others. Her journey is guided by faith, not fear. She knows that what's meant for her will find her, and what's not will fade away without resistance. That's the beginning of understanding her mystery. The first layer of recognizing what makes her an old soul in a world obsessed with newness. But there's more to her story, more to her depth. Her connection to chaos, to nature, to wisdom itself, reveals even deeper signs of who she truly is. The sixth sign of a woman with an old soul is her relationship with chaos. She attracts it, but she never becomes it. There's something about her energy that pulls in people who are broken, lost, or searching for meaning. They see in her what they've forgotten in themselves: peace, depth, and acceptance. It's not unusual for her to find herself surrounded by those who crave healing. She listens, she comforts, she understands without judgment. But unlike the past version of herself, she no longer lets chaos consume her. She knows when to stay and when to step away. Her compassion has boundaries now. She's learned that saving others should never come at the cost of losing herself. Her calm is her armor. She doesn't fight storms anymore. She simply chooses not to enter them. The seventh sign is her deep, almost sacred connection with nature. While most people see nature as scenery, she sees it as a living, breathing spirit. The rustle of leaves feels like language, the ocean's rhythm feels like prayer, and the night sky feels like memory. Nature mirrors her inner world, vast, mysterious, ever-changing yet eternal. She walks barefoot on the earth to remind herself where she came from. She looks at the stars and feels both tiny and infinite at once. Jung once said that our psyche is rooted in the collective unconscious, the same force that governs the natural world. She senses that truth intuitively. When she feels lost, she returns to nature, not to escape life, but to remember it. The earth grounds her, the wind clears her mind, and the rain reminds her that renewal always follows surrender. The eighth sign, her wisdom, is far beyond her years. Even as a child, she felt out of place, too observant, too aware, too deep for her age. While others were content with surface-level things, she was always asking questions that adults couldn't answer. Why are people afraid to feel? Why do we hurt each other when all we want is love? She may not have had words for it then, but her soul was already awake. As she grew older, she didn't just gain knowledge, she gained understanding. Her insights often come from silence, not study. People come to her for advice, not because she has all the answers, but because she has presence. She listens in a way that makes others feel seen, truly seen. Jung described this as the archetype of the wise woman, the one who carries ancient truth in a modern world. That's who she is, though she'll never call herself wise. She just understands what most people overlook. The ninth sign, she's not impressed by appearances. Flashy success, social media perfection, and shallow charm don't move her. She sees beyond the filters and the noise. Authenticity is what draws her in. She values people who are real, even if they're messy, over those who are perfect but hollow. She's learned that truth is rarely glamorous but always beautiful. In relationships, she's not looking for excitement. She's looking for depth. She wants a connection that feeds her spirit, not her ego. She doesn't chase love. She attracts it naturally by being herself. Her energy is magnetic not because she tries, but because she's aligned. She lives in harmony with her values, and that quiet confidence makes her glow from within. The 10th sign, perhaps the most profound, is her relationship with time itself. She doesn't rush. She doesn't force. She moves with rhythm, not pressure. She trusts that everything unfolds when it's meant to. While others chase timelines, she follows intuition. She's comfortable in stillness because she knows that even silence is progress. Jung believed that the soul grows in cycles, not straight lines. She lives this truth instinctively. She honors the seasons of her life: creation, destruction, rebirth. She doesn't fear endings anymore because she's seen how every ending is just a beginning in disguise. Her faith isn't religious. It's spiritual. It's the quiet knowing that there's purpose behind every delay, every loss, every detour. She's the kind of woman who notices the little things, the kindness of strangers, the warmth of sunlight, the way laughter can heal a heavy heart. She lives with awareness, savoring life like it's poetry, and maybe that's what makes her different. She's not just existing, she's experiencing. Each moment, each emotion, each connection carries meaning. The world tries to rush her, label her, fix her, but she can't be molded. She's too timeless for that. Women with old souls are rare because they don't fit into the modern mold. They move slower, love deeper, think wider. They crave connection in a disconnected world. They search for meaning in a society built on noise. But their difference is their power. Jung often spoke of individuation, becoming who you truly are, beyond the masks and expectations. That's exactly what she embodies. She's not here to impress. She's here to awaken. She reminds others what it means to feel, to think, to be alive. When people meet her, something stirs within them. It's not attraction, it's recognition. It's the soul remembering what truth feels like. Her energy lingers even after she's gone because she doesn't just enter your life. She leaves an imprint on your spirit. She doesn't teach through words, but through presence. She inspires by simply being herself. And though her journey is often lonely, she wouldn't trade it for anything. Because being an old soul means seeing the world with new eyes again and again. It means finding beauty in heartbreak, peace in solitude, and purpose in pain. She knows that everything she experiences, love, loss, joy, sorrow, is shaping her into someone even more real, even more whole. That's why she doesn't fight life anymore. She flows with it. She trusts that whatever is meant for her will never pass her by. Her calmness comes from surrender, not control. Her strength comes from softness, not hardness. Her wisdom comes from wounds that have turned into wings. A woman with an old soul lives in quiet rebellion against the world's shallow rhythm. She doesn't need to announce her worth, prove her strength, or demand attention. Her energy speaks for her. People often find themselves drawn to her without understanding why. Maybe it's the way her eyes carry both sadness and serenity. Maybe it's the calmness in her tone when everyone else is shouting. Or maybe it's because she reminds them of something they've lost. Authenticity. She isn't trying to be unique, yet she is. She isn't trying to be mysterious, yet mystery follows her. She's not chasing anything, yet everything that's meant for her somehow finds its way to her. That's the strange beauty of an old soul. The more she lets go, the more aligned she becomes with the flow of life. She doesn't chase pleasure for the sake of distraction. She understands that temporary highs often lead to deeper emptiness. Instead, she seeks experiences that nurture her spirit, a heartfelt conversation, a meaningful book, a silent sunrise. The simple moments that others overlook are the ones that move her most. She understands that life isn't measured by how much you do, but by how deeply you feel. That's why she seems calm when others are restless. She's not indifferent, she's grounded. Her peace isn't weakness, it's wisdom. She's seen what chaos does to the soul, and she refuses to feed it anymore. She has a strange relationship with the past. It doesn't haunt her, but it never leaves her either. She carries the lessons of every version of herself. The young girl who once wanted to be understood. The woman who learned that not everyone will understand. And the soul that realized understanding isn't needed to be at peace. Jung believed that wholeness comes when we embrace every part of ourselves. The light, the shadow, the child, the wise one. She has done that inner work. She's faced her guilt, her fear, her shame, and transformed them into compassion. That's why she radiates acceptance. She no longer runs from her reflection. She's made peace with her imperfections. Love for her is sacred. It's not about possession or performance. It's not about who texts first, who wins arguments, or who looks better on social media. It's about soul recognition. That silent knowing when two energies mirror each other. When she loves, she doesn't just love your smile. She loves your silence. She doesn't just adore your light. She accepts your darkness. But she doesn't chase love anymore. She knows that true love doesn't demand that you shrink to fit someone else's comfort. It expands you. It makes you grow. If a connection costs her peace, she walks away, not out of pride, but out of self-respect. Her heart has learned that it's better to walk alone in truth than to be surrounded by those who live in illusion. She doesn't seek revenge on those who've hurt her. She lets karma do its quiet work. She knows that every soul faces its reflection eventually. Instead of bitterness, she chooses release. Instead of resentment, she chooses growth. She doesn't waste energy proving what she knows. She lets time reveal it. Her silence isn't weakness. It's understanding. It's the recognition that not everything deserves a reaction. That's the level of wisdom that only comes from many lifetimes of lessons. She no longer asks, "Why me?" She asks, "What is this teaching me?" You'll notice that she often feels both ancient and new, as if she's seen it all yet still marvels at the little things. That's the paradox of the old soul. She's weary from experience yet endlessly curious about existence. She looks at a flower blooming and feels eternity in that moment. She hears a piece of music and feels memories she's never lived. Jung might have called this connection to the collective unconscious, a remembrance that transcends time. She feels it constantly, and though it makes her different, it also gives her purpose. She doesn't compare her journey with anyone else's. She knows that everyone's soul evolves at its own pace. Some people need many lifetimes to learn what she already feels in her bones. That's why she doesn't judge, she observes. She watches the world rush toward things that don't matter, and instead of condemning it, she simply chooses differently. Her rebellion is quiet but powerful. She chooses meaning in a meaningless world, depth in a shallow culture, stillness in constant motion. At her core, she understands something most people don't. Life isn't about becoming more. It's about remembering who you already are. All the achievements, failures, relationships, and endings are just mirrors, helping her return to that truth. She lives from the soul outward, not from the world inward. That's what makes her rare. She often goes through phases where she feels disconnected, not from herself, but from others. She looks around and wonders why people are so afraid to be real. But even in her loneliness, she finds beauty. She knows that solitude refines her. It's in those quiet moments that she receives insights, creative inspiration, and deep peace. Jung said that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. She's on that path, and she walks it gracefully, even when no one understands it. If you ever meet a woman like this, don't take her presence lightly. She's not someone you meet by accident. She enters your life to shift something, your perspective, your awareness, your heart. She doesn't demand change from you, but simply being around her makes you want to grow. Her truth is contagious. Her energy reminds you of what's real. She teaches without teaching, heals without trying, and loves without conditions. She may not stay in your life forever, but her impact will. Because a woman with an old soul doesn't leave memories, she leaves awakenings. Long after she's gone, you'll find yourself recalling her words, her calm, her gaze. And you'll realize that she didn't just pass through your world. She touched your soul. That's the mark of her presence. It transforms without force. Carl Jung once said that the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. That's exactly what happens when you encounter a woman with an old soul. She doesn't just exist in the world. She transforms it quietly, one soul at a time. And maybe that's her true purpose, to remind humanity of its depth, to bring back meaning where it's been forgotten, and to light a candle in the collective darkness. Because she knows that even one spark of consciousness can illuminate 1,000 shadows. She is that spark, ancient, luminous, eternal. That's what it means to be a woman with an old soul. She lives not for applause, but for alignment, not for attention, but for authenticity, not for perfection, but for truth. She walks her path alone, but never lonely, because she knows that wherever there is truth, there is light. And wherever there is light, she is home.